Okay, so I see the references. I'm wondering if you, because I know you were in the class, so I'm wondering if you actually broke these things down because I don't see the breakdowns. Did you break down these things into, like, analyze them? Like, did you analyze these references before you actually sketch them? Because it looks like you didn't really, it seems like you didn't really do that. Um, and your drawings are very detailed. Like, we need to simplify shapes. Try to simplify shapes as much as possible. So this is, let me see if I can, do some sketches here for you. So let me move this guy to the side. Now, if you look at this guy, he has, to me, it looks like he has, let me make this. It looks like he has a very slim and narrow shoulders. He has very rounded and prominent latissimus dorsi. This is your latissimus, your lats, in short form, lats. Then he, what else? He has a long neck. I think that's quite long. Maybe we can shorten his pants, but yeah. So keeping that at the back of our mind, if I just do like a very quick sketch for you. Maybe you give him like long neck. It looks like he has a very, very short shoulder span. So we can decide to play with that idea. Give him like this short shoulder. But then round out his lats. And then maybe even make his, sorry. And then maybe make his torso long. Because it looks like he has a long torso. So if we elongate his torso. Hi guys. So in the fall of 2025, I got to host an 8-week masterclass titled Ethnic Character Design for Animation, which had a decent number of signups. I got to share a ton of rich information, secrets, industry insights that I used to craft an award-winning character like Noni, Eyes of Wakanda. The sessions were archived and compiled into a digestible course. The course will be available for purchase on Gumroad from 26th of February 2026. If you are an intermediate level artist seeking to diversify your portfolio to include culturally grounded characters in animation, then this is for you. Thank you for listening and see you on February 26th. Now, because his torso is long, remember what we said about contrast. Since his torso is long, it means we want to shorten his pelvis so that we can, because that's how contrast works. If you want to show how short a person is, like if you put in a tall person beside a short person, we see how short, like the person feels a lot shorter and the tall person feels a lot taller. So if you want, that's the same principle we are going to apply here. If you want his torso to look very long, then we need to give him a very short pelvis. So now we can now see from with the length of his pelvis that his torso is long. Now it looks like he has very, very muscular legs. This guy is a meso, by the way. He's a mesomorph. His body type. So he's really muscular. We can make this part seem short because it looks like it's short, this part. So to emphasize the shortness, we might make here slightly longer. So make that short and then make here maybe slightly not too long, because if you make it too long, then it will not be very practical, for animation, because people are when the animator is going to make remember, this is character design for CG, like this is for CGI, right? So when the character bends, so if the character folds their legs like this, if this part is too long, then imagine his legs being like this. It'll be too long, and then his waist is here, so he's bending down like that. This is not very practical for animation. So you don't want the difference in height between this part and this part to be too long, like too much. You don't want the gap to be so much. So it's supposed to be much closer in reality. So when breaking or exaggerating these things, you want to be careful. I think I said all this in the class. I said all this. Please watch the video from the last class. So that's the guy. I'm using your reference, by the way, and I'm using your reference because you picked a good reference. There are some cases where references that are picked, are not so good. In those cases, it might not be very useful to draw with your references. I'd rather draw with my own references, but the reference you picked here for this assignment is actually very good, because I can see how his body is unique. Not everybody's body is this unique, So that's his arm, his forearm. Nothing too special about the forearm, just keeping it the way it is. So this is what I expected you to do. I've taken your own reference and used it. Notice that I didn't even bother trying to put all the detailed muscles and all, because it doesn't really matter. Like, I can put all those muscles, but that's not really what this class is about. And notice, you see all these things you did here, you don't see them on my own drawings. Like, I'm not putting all that stuff. It doesn't matter. What matters is capturing the shape language, finding the shape language and building with that, rather than, and having fun with that, pushing and pulling, with that, rather than trying to draw all the details. This is not, when doing figure drawings, it's advisable not to bother, especially for animation. When doing figure drawing studies, don't draw all these details. Like, it's not appealing to have all these details, except you are in the game industry or in the comic book industry. Then details might be important, but in animation we try to simplify things for a good reason. Anyway, the reason is we don't want the rigging process, the animating process, the rigging process, the modeling process to be cumbersome. So we want the people who are working on these things to be able to interpret it easily, and the simpler the shapes, the better for everybody in the pipeline. So the muscles, I can decide to do all that, but I'm just going to simplify those muscles. We don't really care much about all those detailed muscles. That's not important. Without even drawing his six-pack, I can tell that he's a muscular person. We don't need to see his six-pack to know that. All right, so that's what I expected. I can share this file with you if you want. I'm going to save this this particular file in PDF form. Sorry, not PDF, PSD form. So if you need it, just let me know on Discord. The same thing too applies for this one. I'm not going to draw everything. Let me pick a female character instead. Okay, I'm going to pick this one. But let me just show you. So let me just talk this through. It's the same thing. Like, you have to simplify the shapes. Think about big shapes. Like, looking at this guy, it looks like you should have emphasized his belly the most. Like, emphasize that belly and thin out his legs. That's what I'm seeing. Like, thin out. Uh-oh, I'm drawing on the... It's when this happens. Thin out his legs. Emphasize the belly. That's what I see. He looks like an endo ecto. Look at how thin his arms are. You can play with that to give you the endo feeling. And then his legs, thin out his legs to make him look an ecto, sorry. Then the belly will not be the endo parts. And then you can stress the hell out of this belly, like to make it really, really prominent. This character is just like endo. Actually, she looks like meso ecto, but mostly meso because she's very muscular. Now, this what you did here, you have to pay attention to it, because in reality, like when you draw muscles, read that book I recommended, the book on force, Human Anatomy by Michael Matezi. This is not how the muscle works. So you have your triceps here. The triceps are here, and they are buried underneath your deltoid, like that. The deltoid feeds into the pectoralis, this part, and then this one feeds into the the collarbone. Your triceps is underneath, and then you have a small muscle inside there. This is what the hand looks like. This is what the arm looks like when it's raised up like this. Now, of course, the model doesn't have, you're not seeing all the, if you look very well, you see some of those details I'm talking about. But what you did here was that you looked too closely at the reference, thinking that this is actually, there are times when references are wrong. I know this might sound counterintuitive, but there are times when references are wrong. I'm not saying this is wrong or this is AI or anything like that. This is a real model, but there are times when they are wrong, not because it's wrong, not because what you're looking at is wrong or that she's abnormal. No, it's because if you lean too much on references, you start to copy everything without understanding what is really going on, what is happening underneath the skin. Underneath the skin, this is not what you see. The muscle is actually forming underneath the skin like that. I guess it's because she's probably flexing it. That's why it's tight. Like she's flexing, she's actually stiffening her arms. That's probably why the muscles are moving upwards. Normally, when the arms are relaxed, the muscles are not tight up like this. They're not tightened up like that. So, and then if you look well, you see that other muscle I talked about there. There's a small one in the armpits. This is how the hand looks like. I didn't want to go into details of muscles because that's basic, that's fundamentals. This is for intermediate / advanced level artists. So I don't need to go into all these things. There are many people that have talked on they have done lots of tutorials on muscles. Maybe you should go watch those guys. I'm not going to go into all these details. Study, read, and do your research online, and draw a lot more people over time. Draw from pictures or from real life as much as possible. The more you draw people from references, the more you understand how these muscles work. So I want to show you, like, quickly what I think this character should look like. She's very slim, and I don't think you really did justice to how this character should look. She's very, very slim, and I'm going to do like a very quick demo. I'm not going to spend too much time on this. again, this PSD file, I'm going to save all these things as PSD files, so you can, if you need them, you can request for them on Discord. So this character has full hair. What I see straight out the bat is how broad her shoulders are. She has very, very, very broad. She has a very broad shoulder. And then it's almost like, because she's ecto, right? So there's almost like this V shape. I'm seeing a V shape because she's walking. One hip, this leg is planted on the ground. So her body weight is leaning on this leg. That's why the hip is slanting this way, while this one is lifted up. So that one is, this hip is higher than the other one. And she's still slim. Think about the slimness of this figure, the slenderness of this figure. I'm not going to spend too much time in details. I just want to draw this thing real quick for you. And then she has, if you want, you can elongate his hands to be like this. And then she's holding something. She's holding a purse. She's also skinny, as I can see her collarbone. This is her hair. So I'm drawing this thing in real time. So you see that it doesn't really take so long. Of course, there's a lot of years of experience, from drawing characters, or from doing figure drawing. That's why it's easier for me. But trust me, if you put in the work, like if you put in the efforts, you start to see it yourself. So this is what I see. I see more of this kind of slender figure than what you did on this side. What you've done here looks like endo ecto. But this character looks like she's purely ecto. So I just wanted to point that out. All right, then this one is actually very cool. Like you did, I see the roundness. I see the roundness. Yeah, this one is not so bad. I see the roundness, and then all the line up together is also interesting to look at because they're all unique from each other. So for the Abigail character, is it Abigail or Abigail? I think it's Abigail. I think it should be an I think. All right, so Abigail, you remember Abigail? For Abigail, let me quickly pull up the reference. So I just had to pull up the reference. Abigail is the 75 mentor character. She's into spiritual, like she's more like a shaman. She's a native doctor type of character. Yeah, she could be on the plus side, so that's fine. I just needed to be sure. So of all these characters, for a 75-year-old, I'm probably leaning towards this. I'm probably leaning towards that. Then yeah, I'm leaning towards this one. I'm not too sure about the hair yet. We haven't done hair, so when we get to the hair part, when we get to that bridge, we're going to cross it. Yeah, then also I wanted to be sure. I hope that this head is from someone else. Like I hope this is if you redrew someone's head, you have to make sure you do justice to it because it would have been nice. The whole idea was to take people's literal heads and draw bodies, underneath, like draw bodies that fit their heads. So I'm hoping that this head is from someone else. Like this is not all these heads are not your own drawings. Like it's from someone else. Right. Yeah. I also like A in terms of body. Um, I like what I like about your lineup that I forgot to say is that you actually stay true to the style. This looks like an endo. You stay true to the endo body type. I like A. So these are different options of the same body type, which is awesome. So A and B and is where I'm leaning. I actually like now that I'm thinking about it, I actually like A more than I actually like this more than this. So I think you should go with A. She has an interesting body type. What I would say is because because her body is slimming upwards, I like she has this pear type of figure. So I would say since her body is leaning upwards, I'll suggest that, or since she's getting lean up as her body moves, towards the top of her body in her torso area, I would suggest you put like bones, to indicate not too much detail, but just to indicate that she's a bit skinny up there. Yeah, something like that. Yeah, this character is not she's not bad. But the face, please make sure that this face is from someone else, like, or you drew even if it's your own head. I don't think this was a head I approved. I don't think I approved of this head. So make sure it's the head that's approved from the previous week, whether it is your own or someone else's own. But please make sure about that. I like what you did here with the like moving the boobs far away from each other. Like this is very interesting. This is a very interesting way to stylize or to draw a character. It's interesting. But yeah, I'm leaning towards A. Like for somebody who smokes and who is really into herbal stuff, I think A seems the most practicable. And make sure that you don't forget that her arms are also kind of slim. So this is like ecto endo. Yeah, so maybe the top part of her arm can be wide, but then as you go, it becomes thinner. Something like that. All right. Then for her legs, I don't know. I think maybe because if you look at the width of her legs compared to her hands, I think it's too big. I'll suggest you make these legs smaller, make her feet smaller feet. If you need this PSD file, please let me know and I'll send them. That's it.